Jack and Jill here.
Hello.
Welcome to the JackJill Show, entertaining real estate investment talk. I'm Jack Butella.
And I am Jill DeWitt, broadcasting from sunny Southern California.
Today, Jill and I talk about real estate investment advice. The most common questions that we both get will be answered here.
This is going to be good.
It really is. I hope it's going to satisfy some of the most basic questions. Like if you're a listener and you've never really engaged in any of this, but you feel sorry for us, and you still have some questions about real estate in the back of your head.
Oh my gosh. So you're listening out of pity? What's that?
Well, that's what this show's about today. We're going to answer some of the most frequently asked questions that I get and that Jill gets. And we have not shared each other's lists, so we don't. Maybe we have all the exact same questions. I doubt it.
I don't think so.
That's never happened ever.
Do you know what's funny? There's, for some... I don't want to make anyone not feel good about themselves, but they think that they're like, oh, this is a stupid, you know what? It's true. They always say, oh, this is dumb. I'm sure you've, answered this 1,000 times. And sometimes I've never heard them. I mean, I've had some really good questions come to me. I'm like, oh, that's a good one. And I can help. And then there are some that they're happy to know that they're not alone. You know, people think that, oh,
yeah, that's in our slogan.
This is true. And that's part of it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't realize that they're not alone in this. That
sometimes there's such thing as a really stupid question, though. Quite honestly,
there is.
And it usually has nothing to do with real estate.
This is true.
It has to do with psychology.
This is true.
Why can't I get the first deal done? Those are the kinds of things like, there's answers to this. That's not necessarily a good example, but it has nothing to do with real estate. That's actually inspiration for you.
That's where I come in.
All right.
Okay.
Before we get into all that, let's take a question posted by one of our members on the JackJill.com online community. It's free.
Okay. Brian asks, wondering how people doing deals in California that are offering owner financing are getting their third-party trustees. Title companies?
Yes.
What if you aren't using a title company?
That's an issue.
Any loan servicing companies that you would like to serve as a trustee?
No, so this is a very, very good question. It's exact opposite of a bad question like we were referring to earlier.
Exactly.
What ends up happening, there's two types of ways to sell or finance property in general. One is called a land contract, or just a terms agreement, depending on where you are in the country, where two people sign an agreement that one says, I'm willing to buy this land for X amount. I'll pay you $200 a month till we get there, 1% interest or whatever everybody agrees on. Sign it, sometimes notary it, sometimes not. That's it.
My favorite. Doesn't
get recorded.
My favorite.
That's the big difference here. That does not get recorded until the final payment has been made and the property gets recorded. So it requires a lot of trust.
It's true.
The second way is a trustee involving a third-party trustee or trustee sale. Well, trustee sale occurs when there's, for whatever reason, the trustee has to take the property back. But it's all facilitated. I've never seen one that's not facilitated by a title company. And there's a lot of reasons for this, because they have all the forms ready and they really know how to do it. In very, very rare cases, I've actually seen I take that back. I've seen a couple of them where a loan servicing company does handle this for you, but in general...
It's expensive, doesn't it?
Yeah, because a loan servicing company is not set up to record stuff like title companies are.
Right.
Yeah, and it does and the title company will...
That's my whole thing. I mean, some of these transactions, I'm like, this adds a lot of cost on it that I don't think anybody really... Yeah. Unless you don't really have to, that you want to incur.
From a seller's perspective, the default rate for rural vacant land that's priced very high is a pretty high. It's a high default rate. It's more than 50%. And so you want to plan for that as a seller. And the big differences between these two types of financing is that one costs nothing to undo, and the other one, in general, costs a lot, maybe $2,000 or $3,000.
There you go.
And so on a $5,000 piece of property, that's really significant.
Correct.
Do you ever look at an ownership list and you see that First American Title, number 62 owns 431 properties in some county somewhere?
Yes.
That's all because they were the trustee on a deal. It went south, and whoever the seller was decided that they did not want to pay the money to undo it.
Right. It was cheaper just to walk away.
So the title company literally takes title to it. Mm-hmm. They title themselves.
Exactly.
So this is not very 101. This is all very complicated. It's a really good question, Brian. Thank you. So in general, I should mention too that states are very, very different. They vary pretty widely on how they handle this and what they allow.
Contracts are allowed and things like that. That's true.
Or if a land contract is allowed at all.
And because of that, honestly, there's a lot of states that we are cash only because we're not even going to mess with it. The hoops you have to jump through are not worth it.
Right.
I mean, Jack and I think if you've listened to us for a while, you know that we're primarily cash people anyway. We like that. But we do have properties on terms, and we've done that for a long time. But there's states that we just don't want to go there. It's not worth it. Exactly.
Today's topic, real estate investment advice defined. This is the meat of the show. One of the most frequently asked questions I get is, where do I start? What do I do? To which my answer is, education is always a place you start, always. Start listening to podcasts. Sometimes it's ours, sometimes it's not. And just soak in as much as you really soak it in to the point where you really want more, or you're like, this doesn't make a lot of sense, and you don't need to spend any money on it. Jill and I created a website called landinvestors.com, which is an online community. It's the same as the JackJill online community, where you can ask any questions. Mm-hmm. There's some really, really, really successful people, very wealthy, successful people that contribute regularly on this website. Some of them are members and some of them aren't. That has to do with land and real estate investment in general, and I think that it's a very, very good place to start.
That's where I direct people to at first, too. I'm like, don't spend any money yet. First, you want to get to know the community. Does this seem like a group that you could, you guys all, it makes sense to you, number one. And number two, I always tell people thinking about this, ask those questions of someone other than us, someone who's really doing it real, and I mean, I can tell you, and I do, I'll say, hey, here's what most people are doing, but I always say, don't trust me, go ask them. Mm-hmm. Ask them how hard it really was. Ask them, hey, who else out there is, doing this in the evenings and has a wife and 2 little kids and a day job? I mean, how much time are you guys really having to put in? And they'll tell you, because you need to have that information up front to make an educated decision.
What's that XM station you're listening to in your new car?
Oh, Sirius 111. It's the business channel, and it's on Morton's in San Francisco on their campus. And I love it.
This is all that Jill's been talking about lately.
I'm like,
every time I'm in her car, it's on, and I'm intrigued also. And so my point is, I'm sure that our show provides that because there's people that are interested in land and house flipping that are really intently listening to what we say about this stuff. So you never stop learning.
No, it's funny. I am hooked on that channel.
So that's the education. I mean, we talk about it a lot. So what's the most frequently asked question that you get, Jill?
One of the ones I get is, how fast can I ramp up? I have 3 real popular ones. So one is, how fast can I ramp up? Another one is it hard to sell?
Wow.
Vacant land. And a third one I get is, what do I do if I need help?
Really? Mm-hmm. One of the ones I get all the time, always, is, I don't have any money. Mm-hmm. To which my answer is, then this is maybe not for you.
Yeah.
There's ways around it. There's lots of, there are programs out there that's what how they sell themselves on that. You don't need any money to do this. Well, I mean, I don't think that's anything to brag about.
I think that's funny. Wait, are those the same people that then charge $50,000 for something down the road? Yeah. I think that's the same ones. Like, that's insane. Oh my gosh.
It takes a little bit of money. What do we say still? $5,000? 5 to 8 grand?
I always tell them, if you have $5,000, you can afford the education, you could afford a couple months of data, you can afford to get the mailer out, you can afford to buy something.
Yeah.
You need at least that. More is better. And people who I talk to, or my team talks to, that have less than that, I tell them, you know what? Don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. Don't run out and, take out a mortgage or second on your house or something silly. Don't,
please don't do that.
Don't just wait. If it takes you 6 months to save $5,000, then do that. Mm-hmm. That's a much better thing. And I can't tell you how many people have really listened and come back, and it might have been a year. I had people say, you know what? I talked to you a year ago and I did it. I have $10,000. Let's roll. And I'm like, that is awesome.
Great.
I do. And that, I mean, you know what, too?
That's commitment.
I mean, right. Well, yeah. But number one, that whole year they've been soaking up all the free information they can. So that's so valuable. Number two, they're saving money. And so, you know what? If they spend a year on this saving money, they're going to be in, man. And then my other big thing is you can breathe when you're doing this. Mm-hmm. If you're worried about where I borrowed the money and putting the money back and stuff like that, you don't need that extra pressure while you're learning this and getting rolling.
Right. So what are the answers to the listed questions that you just gave?
Okay. Is it hard to sell? And my easiest answer is, if you're selling something at half of what it's worth, do you think it's hard to sell? And they go, oh, I guess you're right.
So along the sales topic, I get a different version of that question. I posted this property. I did everything you said. I posted this property on Craigslist, and it's not sold. It is worth half. To which my answer is, well, I did say post it on Craigslist, but I also said post it on Land and Farm, Landpin, Landwatch, and about 6 other places. Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, and even consider the way these cheap flat fee listings are in the MLS. Consider posting it in there too.
That's true.
And
eBay.
then if all else fails, eBay.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Or you could just start with eBay. We have a member that only sells on eBay.
Right.
And they do great.
I still do not have anyone we always identify whatever it is. If it doesn't sell, like Jack said, number one, you paid too much, you priced it too high. That's easy. And number two, you're not reaching the right people.
That's it.
I mean, it's really, really that true. And every time I talk to someone,
2 rules.
We can always figure it out. I go, oh, I didn't know that. I only put it here because I only put in the Craigslist in the county next over because I figured they're a perfect candidate. They're the ones that would drive to that lake. Well, no, wait a minute. There's a lot of other people out there, that might want this property. And they go, oh.
We're selling a lot of property to overseas people lately. Mm-hmm. And so you don't want to miss that market either. And the best way to get to them is social media.
It's very true. And then another one, people ask, how fast is it going to take? That's one thing. Everybody comes into this I want to quit my job in a month.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill it. I'm going to quit my job and I want to buy a Ferrari, or something crazy.
That's what I want right now.
Oh, you're so funny. So what are you looking at?
I was just looking at you.
Okay.
I was wondering if you have Levi's or Wranglers on. Because we were
talking about that yesterday.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any regulars. I don't have any Levi's. Actually, I have one pair of Levi's. I have one pair of Levi's. These are not Levi's. So anyway, how fast to ramp up? You know what? That's kind of really on you. Do I know people that in 90 days, I'm not saying you don't quit your job. Please don't quit your job. But in 90 days, are they doing consistent deals? Heck yes.
That's a good goal. Consistently turning real estate in 90 days, 3 months.
Yep. And some it's 6 months because they're only kind of doing it a few hours because they're only doing 3 hours on a weekend every weekend, maybe. So it's going to take them a little bit longer because it took them 90 days just to buy one,
right?
Kind of thing. So then it takes them longer. So that one really is up to you. But I mean, come on, you guys. Jack and I just did a house where, cash in, cash out in less than 30 days.
It was closer to 3 weeks.
I know. So
now, granted, we have a lot of experience,
crazy.
So I'm not saying you shouldn't be hanging your head if it takes you, 45 days to do a complete total. This is just a flip, by the way. It's not. This is a wholesale flip. Cash in, cash out. All cash on both ends. No lenders. It's not. We didn't renovate anything.
Nope.
We didn't even sweep the floor.
Nope.
We just really bought it cheap.
Didn't even change the locks.
Yeah, that's right.
It's so good. So there you go.
So it varies with different. Here's another point. This is just a universal rule that applies to everything, not just real estate success. 70% of the people that go down this path in anything are going to not end up following through. 20% are going to end up doing very well. And the 10% are going to end up where Jill and I are, which is the 90-10 rule. And we are not alone up here because there are people in our group that make way more money than we do. They're probably not distracted with things like this podcast, by the way.
Mm-hmm. This is a valid point. I am so glad you thought about that. Think about how much money we spend on a college education, number one. Think about the dropout rate. Oh boy, I defy you 75%. To find one college that has a 50%.
Right.
Come on. It's crazy.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, too, how many of you who have college degrees are using your college degree? You know,
right.
Nowadays, that's the big question. And I have had this question with 20-somethings that they've asked, because I'm not 20-something. I have had them ask me about my college education, and because I actually think this is really cool that they're thinking along these lines, and they're really thinking like, do you need a college education if I want to do this? You know, and I really appreciate that. And they're not asking me as in my business, they're just asking me as
You're
someone
asking your advice.
Exactly, because I'm
You're asking
a little older than 20.
Real estate investment advice.
So no, they're not even asking that. They don't even know what I'm doing. They don't even know what I do. They just know that in the situation that we're in, that I can afford to do something. I don't know, or I guess they're just looking up to an adult that looks accomplished or something. And I appreciate that question. So there's no guarantees here. Just like college, just like everything, right? But you got to work at it.
Here's what this may or may not be true for women. I don't know much. I don't know much about women at all.
No, you don't.
If I make a statement like, 10% of you are going to do really, really well, and 90% of you are not going to do some version of this, or, it just won't work. 70% won't do any of it. 20% will potentially make it a career. If that makes you mad, this is not for you. If that makes you like, that's what it takes then, Jack?
Oh, I don't think it's a male or
woman.
woman.
I'm getting 10%. I'm in the top 10% of anything I've ever tried. I'll make more money than you in 90 days.
Do you know what's so funny?
That person, I want that person in my foxhole, male or female. You're right. It's not gender specific.
I think to this day, that is one of the reasons you and I are together, and one of the reasons why we kill it. Every single darn time someone tells me, oh, you can't possibly do that. Right. I'm like, oh, game on. Now watch.
You can't sneak into that concert, Jill.
You can't fly a plane. You can't possibly, who knows? You can't afford to do X or whatever. I'm like, yeah, all right, watch me.
Right. Oh, I've seen it. I've been watching it.
Don't tell her that, because here she goes, oh, too late.
You can't fail at that relationship with Jack, Jill.
Oh, yeah. Now that one. I should have looked at that differently.
Oh, my
I'm just kidding.
What can you do? What could you not? I'm gonna, because I want to do it with me
this
at the later.
This is so
too.
good. Yeah, I want to do Jack. Let's see. You can't live in California.
Yeah.
Watch me.
We did that.
Mm-hmm. You can't be an awesome dad. I don't know if anyone ever told you that, but you're an awesome dad.
That's nice.
You can't run your own company. Well, who knows? You're great at that too.
I knew I was going to do that when I was like 6.
Yeah, but did everybody tell you? Did everyone around you support you and tell you that you would?
No, no one did.
Thank you.
Everyone said that, the world needs ditch diggers too.
Thank you.
That's
and you proved them wrong, didn't you?
There's a lot of stuff I could never do. Like be a chef, let's say.
Yes, you could. You just don't want to.
I just don't, and I'm not interested in it.
That's what I'm saying. You could be a chef. Come on, who's the best cooker here? You or me? You. I'm the baker. I'm not the cooker. You could be a chef. What else you got? How about your motorcycle riding skills? That's pretty crazy.
I'm good at that.
I know you are. I've seen that one.
I also I don't do it anymore.
No one needs to race against you.
Stay alive.
You will. Oh, I don't even want to think about it. No one, please attempt to race him, because I want him to be here.
I could not. This is true.
Mm-hmm.
I could not be a professional golfer. And I swear, if I really set out to do that, I could not do it.
Yes, you could.
I have a better chance of being a medical doctor.
You know what? The only things here's the only things
Could you be a pro golfer?
Sure, if we really put our minds to it, and I started many years ago. Sure, good.
Okay.
But I don't want to. Oh, come on. I think the only things that you really, really can't do is those things like I am pretty darn sure I could not be a professional basketball player.
Yeah.
Nor jockey.
Right. Some of that's just age too.
And size.
Sure will. Yeah, I'm
too short for one and too tall for the other. So there's things you can't get around.
Right.
But the rest of the stuff, remember the movie we just watched the other night about the girl that was on that path and that's all she knew and she killed it?
Yes.
From the age of 4?
Yep.
It was an ice skating movie. and it was a good movie. I, Tanya.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you've not seen that movie, Jack's like, "Oh no, please don't make me watch this." And
It was a good movie.
You said it was a good movie too, and imagine if we all set out on one thing to like pro golfing, Jack. If you and I were told at the age of 3 we were going to be pro golfers, I'm pretty darn sure we would be. That's all we did.
Point taken. But I'll tell you, my whole big picture point on that is, I want to do this. I love doing this.
Me too.
I do it in my spare time.
Me too.
We have some people working for us that are working with us that's what they do. They go home and look at real estate when they're all done.
My last one, what if I need help? That's where we come in.
That's easy.
That's where we come in. And you know what? I was on the Wharton School radio thing I was listening to. We were talking about how there's a big shift in the way we all communicate online now. And it's so cool, instead of hiding and keeping secrets, we all are a lot more transparent, everyone, and really helping each other. There's lots of communities out there. Reddit's been around for a long, long time, but now it's
Reddit's
really
a great resource.
But it's grown into all kinds of other things. I mean, just social media. I can't tell you how many times on Facebook I see people asking questions and helping each other. Our online community is awesome because it's really curtailed for our people and what we do, but we still talk about all kinds of stuff. And now we're supposed to open up a whole new, focus over there with House Academy.
Here's a great example of that, Jill. I know we're going out a little bit long on time. I use Facebook for business only, and somebody put this post, and we're all real estate people in there, all of us. What's the best place to get comparison values for free? I love these simple little short posts, and then probably 15 people answered. I was not one of them. And I was enthralled with the answers.
Really?
I learned and purchased software based on that. The responses in there.
Really?
Yeah, because there's some people in there that we all live or die by, in houses anyway, by real estate data. Yeah. And there are 2 really strong places to go get comparison values that are non-MLS. Turns out they're tied to the MLS. They're just MLS data feeds for certain parts of the country.
And it's only going to make your pricing that much more acute.
Propelio is one of them. Propelio.com.
Super cool.
The other one that we use all the time is Redfin, to answer the question.
Super cool.
Well, he's done it again. You spent another 25 minutes or so listening to the Jack and Jill Show. Join us tomorrow where we discuss the topic, lease or buy your primary residence. And I have to say that here's a little spoiler alert. I have met and I have close friends where their primary residence destroyed their life, destroyed their financial life.
Well, I can't wait to listen to that. And we answer your question, should you have one, post it on JackJill.com, our online community. And I mean it. Go there, write a question, and we might pull it out and answer it here on the show.
You are not alone in your real estate ambition. Good show, Jill. We went a little long. Some shows we're horsing around. Some shows we actually talk about stuff. That was good talk about stuff. Yeah.
This is stuff that we haven't covered in a while, and and sometimes too I have different takes on it, and I learn new stuff that I can share with other people.
Right.
So it's good to bring these topics up again. So that was awesome. Hey. Share the fun by subscribing on iTunes or wherever you are listening. And while you're at it, please rate us there. We are Jack and Jill.
Information
and inspiration
to buy undervalued property.